This week on Arizona Illustrated, the look of love, scientifically speaking. What do raptors, rattlesnakes, hummingbirds, and bats have in common this time of year? Fatherhood 101, and remembering Vicki Lynn Hoskinson. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. With Valentine's Day fast upon us, thoughts of love and lovers come to mind. Flowers, cards, and chocolates symbolize our attraction and attachment, but what's going on in our minds and bodies? Romantic love. What is it? How does it work? And why do we want it? It's a mystery that surrounds us and an essential part of who we are as human beings.
Now you're messing up the wires.
Longtime Tucsonans Alice and Camille Albright recently celebrated their 68th wedding anniversary by renewing their wedding vows and sharing a big kiss.
Okay, we okay?
Yeah, we're good.
Laughter, they say, is a big part of what's made their love work.
We laugh a lot. We laugh a lot. We do spend a lot of time laughing.
Their attraction first sparked on an ice pond in East Moline, Illinois.
Ice skating on the farm across the highway. We were skating.
Well, we knew each other, but we really
From school, but we didn't.
pay no attention.
I did though.
Well, she was a lot of fun, and I thought she was pretty neat. Laugh, a lot of fun, and fall down on the ice and get up and laugh about it, you know, it wasn't fussy.
Thought it was great. Oh man.
We started being better friends then.
Better friends. You want to put it that way, yeah.
That early attraction soon turned into romantic love, and not long after, they married.
We got married and moved into the farmhouse. The first 6 months, she'd have no electricity, had a pump for the water, an outdoor bathroom, toilet. So she went, it was
had
rough.
to be love, I'll tell you that.
Now, not everybody goes through life and ever has a real powerful romantic love experience, but anybody who has been young and crazy in love knows that it's a humdinger. There's a lot of evidence that young people in love especially go hypomanic. They often sleep less, they eat less, they're wired. It's not just a head trip, it's a whole body trip. It is one of life's real highs, maybe for many people the highest high. It carries within it, though, some of the seeds of its own destruction because it is an idealizing state, and everybody knows you can't live up to that sort of projection.
Research psychiatrist Charles Raison studies mind-body medicine at the University of Arizona and sees love through the lens of evolution.
There is a large literature looking at what role did romantic love play in evolution. What romantic love has done is sort of help people form specific pair bonds for a long enough period to get children born and to keep males on the scene, providing resources, providing protection in ancestral times, across these long years of human evolution, where these sort of things were a live or die phenomenon.
A rich cocktail of chemicals and hormones forms those pair bonds. One of them is oxytocin, sometimes called the cuddle chemical or love drug.
Oxytocin, when it's given to people, it tends to make them feel more connected, they're softer, they show more compassion, especially towards people that they see as being sort of part of their world, part of their in-group. And there's some very interesting studies to show that indeed oxytocin goes up in the body. It's hard to measure in the brain, but it goes up in the blood of people that are first in love.
Raison points to studies that suggest a 5-year shelf life for romantic love. And that might have more to do with survival of the species than desires of the human heart.
What's 5 years long enough for? Well, it's long enough to really fall in love, to work on having a baby, to have a baby, and to get a child through the real danger zone of ancient life, which was up to the age of about 2 or 3 or 4. The death rate was close to 50% from infection in most societies during that time. The phenomenon of romantic love, which can sometimes lead to long-term pair bonding, but can also, fail after 5 or 6 years. It seems to have been very nicely tailored by evolution to provide a space for specific serial monogamy that the way humans are give our offspring an optimal chance of survival.
The heater's nice. In all the years we lived out in Arizona.
For Alice and Camille Albright, giving their 5 offspring an optimal chance at survival was just part of the equation. Nurturing them with love and attention was a priority and further bonded them as a couple.
So much of us went into the kids. I mean, it seemed to be like they was always number one.
Yeah.
We had the boy, and everything that we felt, we made sure that the boy was fine. Then 2 years later, the girl came along, and that was the same thing. We've devoted an awful lot to our kids.
Yeah.
Not money-wise,
No,
but our emotions and
things.
love for the kids and bringing them up right. But, you know, we think the world of our kids, and they treat us like $1 million now. They all call us almost every day.
Every day. And it was so different after the kids, that we were alone when they were gone.
Yeah.
Then, oh my, it was like, you know, can we do this? I mean, they all were gone. I did.
Could they do it? Yes. They overcame the 5-year shelf life of romantic love by more than 6 decades, enjoying retirement, road trips, and life after kids. Their secret was simple.
Talk to each other about what you're going to do. That's a big thing.
And don't go to bed mad at each other.
Yeah, that's right.
Get it
No,
worked out,
never do
and
that.
so you can wake up smiling. And, you know, remember what you're there for. We took them vows, and when I took them vows, that really, I'm not making it up. That's my wife, and that's till death do us part. I've never had any other inclinations.
The Albrights value their bond so much that they've renewed their wedding vows more than once.
We renewed them at our 50th anniversary, too. When we was married 50 years, we had at St. Peter and Paul Church, and we started renewing them, and I broke down. I couldn't say them. I did.
He's emotional.
The priest started telling me what to say, and I couldn't say it. I just broke down. And people today said, yeah, we was at your 50th, and you cried. I said, yeah, I know I did.
You know, it's a great thing to be attracted to somebody. It's a great thing to want to be with them, to want to have a sexual relationship with them. But for those to survive, there has to be within it some of this deeper love. This has been shown in many studies, right? That people, they may be crazy in love, but if by nature they're sensitive to each other, if by nature they respect each other, they care for each other, they listen to each other, when they fight, they don't get ugly with each other. All these traits that we might think of it as really having more to do with compassion and maybe more of an altruistic love, those traits are what keep romantic love alive. They're also the traits that allow people that even if they fall out of romantic love, they can come to some landing spot that is mutually beneficial.
And like I say, now at our age, when we go away, the biggest thing we worry about is our medicine. See if we got it along.
Seems that love is the best medicine for Alice and Camille, from that first stolen glance on an icy pond in Illinois to a shared kiss while renewing their vows. They're still together and still in love 68 years later.
Oh, you got to get ready now?
Okay. Thank her.
So far, this has been a relatively mild winter. It's also looking like it could be a fairly short one. In the natural world, that means that many animals will be mating and racing their young through a long, warm spring and a hot summer. Our next story briefly explores the intriguing and often surprising reproductive rituals of some of the region's most iconic animals.
My name is Shawnee Riplog Peterson, and I'm the curator of mammalogy and ornithology at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. Spring has sprung here at the Desert Museum and around, out in the bird world. So let's talk about some of the behaviors you might see in your own backyard. There's an Anna's hummingbird, which is the brightly colored magenta male, and he does a spectacular display. It's called a J display. So he'll come up to the top, there'll be a female sitting on a branch, and he'll come up very high and come down and make a J. And the top speed with him, when you're looking at the size of that bird, in 1 second, he goes 385 times his size. shocking. That's just to get her attention. But then he's got other ways to go about this. That's with the color, with his lovely gorget area to flash and show her. And then a beautiful song. Who could resist that? It's a very brief courtship. They don't stay together for their lives. I mean, once there's been copulation, it's on to the next gal. And then the female takes care of the young, from having the egg to hatchlings to fledglings, and then even after the kids are out of the nest, even for 2 more weeks sometimes, they will go back and feed the child, the bird, the fledgling.
Oh, we almost nailed it. That's right.
With hummingbirds, the females do all the work. I hate to say it, guys, but they're deadbeat dads. They really don't help. It's all about the flash with them.
My name is Crystal Holcomb. I'm an animal keeper here at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum, and I'm here to talk to you about bats. Well, the thing about bats is there is around 1,300 species of bats, so pretty much anything you can come up with is a possibility, because there's one species that'll do one thing and another that'll do something else. So there's a huge variety. The California leaf-nosed bat, which is a bat that occurs here in Arizona year-round. They don't hibernate. So they're a pretty interesting species, and they have something that is called a single spar. And so what that means is the male bats will line up against a wall a little bit away from each other, and they'll start whooping and collaring and flapping their wings and trying their best to get the women's attention. And the females then get to fly by, and they pass them all. Then they decide who they want to go back to. And so then the females each get to pick which male is the best male. The California leaf-nose, it's a one-night stand. It's perfect for a single spar. So they're just there to mate, and then the females do all the work after that. They'll even separate themselves entirely. They don't like men when they're pregnant. They don't like men when they have babies. So they stay away from the males. Other species, though, do have monogamous pairs where they'll help raise the young. And so it can vary a lot. Some will start mating in August and then not have their baby until spring. Others will wait and have it all happen in the spring, so hugely variable. The thing I love about bats is that because there's so many species, you can have anything happen. So if anyone asks me a question, I say, well, that's possible because there's so many of them.
My name is Bill Mannon, and I'm a professor in the School of Natural Resources and the Environment. Cooper socks in Tucson are really quite common. There are probably well over 200 breeding pairs. Cooper socks are kind of smallish sized raptors, about the size of a pigeon, but they have longer tails. The breeding cycle begins in February, and at that time the male and female begin to hang out close to where they're going to build a nest. They go through some courtship flights, both male and female, and the male is bringing the female food on a pretty regular basis. And they both begin to build the nest together. So it's that time where the nest construction begins. Almost any place in Tucson where there have been these larger trees planted for shade, so it could be eucalyptus or the Aleppo pine trees, and parks and golf courses and people's backyards, almost all of those are used as nest sites by Cooper socks. The Fathers does virtually all the hunting from about February all the way through August. And then both male and female hunt for themselves, although periodically the male will feed the female in the wintertime to maintain that pair bond. But the female hunts for herself during the wintertime. They have a monogamous relationship. They maintain their pair bonds until one or the other of them dies, and then they are replaced by another individual.
My name is Russ Solsky. I'm a reptile keeper here at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. My specialty is the rattlesnakes. So my job is to make sure all the rattlesnakes are healthy and happy and well taken care of. We're cursed or blessed, however you want to look at it. We have more different types than any other state in the country. We have 18 different varieties of rattlesnakes living within the borders of Arizona. Courtship and breeding on rattlesnakes, it's not too much different than other type of reptiles, but when you focus in on the reptiles in general, a little bit different things to kind of think about. One thing is the male reproductive organs. There's a pair, and they keep both of these stored inside of their tail. But from the external experience, it's very, very difficult to tell a male from a female. They pretty much look the same. But when it comes for courtship behavior, the female will advertise herself as being ready to breed by laying down a chemical pheromone. It's sort of like a perfume to attract other male rattlesnakes. And this will attract others of the same species of this type of rattlesnake, and they will follow her. If more than one male is tracking the same female and they happen to cross paths, they sometimes come into a situation where they have to fight with one another. It's called male combat courtship. A lot of people think this is actually breeding of the rattlesnakes. They'll see two snakes facing each other, and they'll kind of twirl around each other and they'll kind of push each other back and forth to the ground. That's actually the males fighting for dominance over one another for the right to breed with the female. Once breeding occurs, the father is kind of done and he's gone, he's out of the picture. His role is very important, but it's very minimal as to the actual raising of the rattlesnakes. The rattlesnake birthing season here in Arizona is typically tied with our monsoon season. So the breeding actually takes place in early spring for most rattlesnake species, and the young are born to coincide with the summer monsoon season. So typically baby rattlesnakes are born anywhere from July, August into early September.
Like what you see on Arizona Illustrated? Visit our webpage at azpm.org to watch and share videos from this episode. You'll also find stories from future programs, an easy way to submit your own story idea, an archive of past episodes of Arizona Illustrated, and you'll find everything you need to stay connected with public broadcasting in Southern Arizona. azpm.org. The Cambridge Dictionary defines fatherhood as the state or time of being a father. While efficient, that hardly describes what might be considered fatherly to cultures and species across the globe. For that, might we recommend a class at the University of Arizona?
What is it like when a dad throws up the baby and the mom is back there going, ah! And the baby's going, ah, ah, ah.
In this classroom, students are putting Dad under a microscope.
We don't know of another course actually that's taught with a kind of perspective that brings in biology and different cultures and the sociology, and an evolutionary perspective brings that all together, and that's really what the wish was for this kind of a course.
There has to be a real benefit.
Really is kind of a little bit of an operation manual for being a human being.
It's a University of Arizona course called Men, Fatherhood, and Families, a Biocultural Perspective. It's taught by Dieter and Netzine Steckless, a husband and wife team of primate researchers, and it's so popular, it fills up every time it's offered.
I don't think that's worthy of a hoot yet.
92%, that's pretty good.
It's good? What do you think?
Very mild.
Well, mild, small hoot.
Dieter and Netzine draw from research across disciplines and species to explore what fatherhood is all about. The class covers everything from the social and evolutionary basis of dating to the role fathers play in different societies and periods of history. Students learn that a big piece of a father's job is passing on what he knows.
Part of it is learning simple social skills. What kind of a man you have to grow up to be. What is your responsibility? What is your role? Whether it's hunting in a hunting and gathering kind of society, or herding in a pastoralist society, or maybe you have to prepare to be a good warrior.
Set, go.
But across cultures, being warm, playful, and present seems to matter.
Comes on board.
What you want to provide as a loud and clear, unambiguous, if you like, signal to your son or your daughter is that I'm present, I'm engaged, I'm supportive, I'm basically here to help you grow up.
That signal affects the body and the mind. Growing up without a father can impact emotional resilience, school performance, teen pregnancy rates, even how early a child enters puberty.
We've evolved, our brains have evolved, our physiology has evolved, our psychology has evolved to be attuned to whether or not there is a father figure present, especially early on in our development. And if a father figure isn't present, well, then there are certain consequences.
That trajectory begins with youngsters that are in the classroom, that age group, because they are making decisions either consciously or unconsciously about the kinds of relationships they have, about whether they're going to be long-term relationships, about whether they want to seek a long-term mate, and what are they looking for in a long-term mate, and all these things that are going through young minds just as part of developing into young adults.
Keep in mind, right, this very fact, when you enter into holy matrimony, your testosterone levels will plummet accordingly.
That's a good thing.
But it's a good thing.
The Steckelses also share stories from their own unusual family life, which includes 2 sons, Barent and Wolf.
At one point, it might have been after you got your degree at Princeton, that you started referring, we had children, very young children, you started referring to them as reproductive units.
Yes.
That's a very unusual way to refer to your children. One of the things that we decided early on is that we would take our kids everywhere where we went in terms of travel. In retrospect, I think one of the best decisions we ever made.
And that was a firm rule, right?
A firm rule.
Even babies, they were 4 weeks old. I was on a plane with Wolf, I remember. So it was tough to do that, but we recognized that it was these shared experiences, and every shared experience was a learning opportunity. And we knew that from working with primates, it was this caring relationship that mattered, but also these experiences that you can't create them, they occur.
The brothers have even joined their parents in the lecture hall. They've taken the fatherhood class themselves. It's made them philosophical about what it means to be a family.
I'd love to be that source of knowledge and wisdom that my dad is, just because he's ridiculously smart. But that seems like a very important factor, like being able to give information and always answer like that why question that little kids always have.
They'd always have us assign us to be a part of the team. Be like, yeah, okay, yeah, you guys, do this or do this, and that'll help us, kind of thing. Or, it just made us all feel like one family unit overcoming something hard. And that just builds, family cohesion, and it also makes you feel, like you're loved and wanted and part of something bigger.
For Julie Nguyen, a recent UA grad, the class hit close to home for different reasons.
I myself grew up without a father present in my life, and I've always wondered what that kind of does to a person. This class has helped me to kind of forgive my own father. I can look at the social sciences aspect of it or the evolutionary biology aspect of it, and I can appreciate that, and I can at the same time step back and be okay with my father's absence.
The Steckelses hope that, whatever their reasons for taking the class, students come away with more awareness of the difference good fathering can make.
We're just always amazed that most of our life goes on in autopilot. And we're asking students, and we're asking those that we encounter, please just take it off autopilot for a little while and be aware of what you're doing, because it has a big impact. And use your free pass?
30 years ago this month, shock and horror gripped Tucson. 8-year-old Vicki Lynn Hoskinson had disappeared 5 months earlier, and her whereabouts were still unknown. On February 7, 1985, students, teachers, friends, and family gathered at her school, Homer Davis Elementary, to express their hope and love.
Students at Homer Davis School today read poems about their classmate, Vicki Lynn Hoskinson.
She is pretty. She is nice. She is loving and caring girl. She is a person we wish was here to share her feelings. She is someone we wish to see again someday.
A time capsule was buried containing various letters, poems, and photographs.
I
I also am putting in Vicki's last picture that we have of her. So if anybody ever does open it up, they'll know what she looked like.
A Palo Verde tree was planted in honor of the missing child.
Ryan, come here, Mama, help you. Vicki would be so proud to be here. I know wherever she is, she's just beaming, and all of you can remember her big smile and know that she's smiling right now, and she's so proud of every single one of you. And remember, every time you look at the tree, that you remember Vicki Lynn.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. Next week, why you read your rights. Raptors up close and personal. Singing with paint and painting with music. And what to do about downtown from the vault. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.